countdown to spring training is on, and there are a lot of battles to discuss as we enter the first week of official Cubs spring training, and we're going to talk about it. You're watching Second City Sports Talk. As a disclaimer before I, go through with this video, at my apartment complex here in Phoenix, a pipe burst and destroyed about, 50 or so apartments. So if you hear a lot of loud banging in the background, no, I'm not at a construction site, but there's a construction site here. Again, this GoPro picks up everything. It's a blessing and a curse. If you hear a lot of drilling, loud noises, I can't control it, and these GoPros, don't let you add mics unless you buy one that is GoPro, and, that's not in the budget. So we're going to work with what we have, but again, this is a big week. We are about, a week-ish away from the start of Cubs official spring training. The first full squad workout is on the 10th, I believe. We are almost there, meaning we can finally look at what battles are to take place. We can look at what I've noticed so far at camp. I've been there almost every single day and have noticed a lot. There's a lot of stuff that you see when you are there in person compared to times when you're not there, just watching on YouTube. And I also want to talk about Zac Gallen, because the Gallen to the Cubs rumors just seem to not die. But first, let's look at the battles. Now, what I see two primary battles that are going to take place this spring. And they're for two spots on the roster, one position player, and of course one pitcher spot I see as guaranteed to be available. First one we're going to start with is outfield. That fourth outfield spot right now, it is a complete unknown. You have, of course, Pete Crow Armstrong in center field, you have Seiya Suzuki in right field, and you have Ian Happ in left field. But outside of that, it's your best bet is as good as mine. I have no clue who's going to be this team's fourth outfielder, which is why spring training is fun, and the four names I give you have the best shot at taking that position. Now, the first name, we've talked about him before. He is my current pick to make this roster. I know when I was on Locked On Cubs with Matt Cozy a couple days ago, I said this player was my favorite, albeit light favorite, to be this team's fourth outfielder come opening day, and that is Chas McCormick. Now, my rationale for picking McCormick was that he has the highest ceiling of all of these options. Yes, abysmal last 2 years, but before that, we're talking all-star level performance, hits lefties. This is a guy that can elevate your outfield performance. Outside of Chas McCormick, the options really do start to fall out. It's not even like McCormick is that good of an option. He was horrible the last 2 years. Who's to say he even gets back to that level? You have Justin Dean, who is actually, he's the only 40-man addition to this group outside of the next player we're going to talk about. Again, was added to the 40-man in the offseason. Great defender, actually won a World Series ring. He was on the Dodgers last year, played in maybe 10 or so games, but still gets a ring. You have him, not an exciting option whatsoever. You then have, like I said, Kevin Alcantara, who is the other player currently on the 40-man. He has one more minor league option, so probably has the lowest shot of all of these players as being the opening day fourth outfielder. He's going to probably start the season in Iowa. Then you have Dylan Carlson, who I have seen a bunch of this spring. Got to see him take batting practice the other day. Again, he is a switch hitter, something these four other players do not offer. And that is definitely something to consider. He can hit from both sides. Historically, has been a bust at the major league level. We're talking a player that held up a Juan Soto, yes, a potential Juan Soto trade to the Cardinals. The only reason why that trade didn't happen, or the only known reason why that trade didn't happen, was because the Cardinals didn't want to give up Dylan Carlson, which is laughable to think about. He's bounced around. He was in Charlotte with the White Sox last year, played for the Orioles, just a straight bust at the major league level, but an intriguing option nonetheless to be the fourth outfielder. Again, I give Chas McCormick I don't even want to say the benefit of the doubt. I just think he has the highest upside and therefore should be the favorite to land to land the fourth outfield job. Again, all four of these guys, McCormick, Dean, Alcantara, Carlson, Your pick is as good as mine. That's what makes spring training fun. We are going to see these guys battle every single day. One of, if not two of these outfielders will be in the starting lineup each and every day this spring, getting tons of at-bats. I expect all four of them to come close to leading the team in at-bats this spring. The Cubs don't know who's going to be that outfielder. We don't know who that guy's going to be. Who's going to step up? Who's going to take that role this spring? That has yet to be determined, but that is the fun part about spring training. Switching gears, the other battle I see wide open this spring is, of course, for the 8th and final bullpen spot on this team. Now, I'm going to give you my 7 current locks for this Cubs bullpen. Of course, Colin Ray is going to be the long man. He's making $5.5 million. Unless traded, he is going to be in this bullpen, if not the starting rotation, injury dependent, come opening day. You then have Hobie Milner, Phil Maton, Daniel Palencia, Hunter Harvey, Caleb Thielbar, and Jacob Webb. Those 7 pitchers, in some order, are going to be tasked with bridging the, end of a starter's outing to the final 3 outs of the game. Which leaves us with 1 open spot, and I have a couple of intriguing names for you. I have 5 names, plus a surprise pitching guess as to who's going to be that 8th and final reliever come opening day. Now, the first 2 I'm going to mention are familiar names. I am very high on one of them. And those 2 guys are Porter Hodge and Luke Little. And the other 3 pitchers I have on here are Ben Brown, Corbin Martin, who is on an MILB invite, and then Colin Snyder, who is also on a minor league invite. And then I think the only fair way to assess these pitchers and really determine who could take that spot, predict who could take that 8th and final spot, is to present what each of them offers, what unique trait each of these pitcher offers come opening day, and what they can offer to the Cubs bullpen. Starting with Porter Hodge, we saw it in 2024. We saw flashes of it in 2025. That is that 27% strikeout rate, extreme velocity, and probably the best stuff on the team outside of Daniel Palencia and now Edward Cabrera. Look, Porter Hodge, when he is on, is this team's best reliever by far. I'd even put him ahead of Daniel Palencia. That sweeping slider, that blow past your fastball, Porter Hodge is going to shove it down your throat in the biggest moment. He's very young as well. There is immense upside with Porter Hodge. The only issue is horrible walk rate. Did get hit a bit hard last year. When you're walking guys, it's not a recipe for success, especially when you're a back-end reliever. You then have Luke Little, who I think the sky is as high as it goes for Luke Little. I am a big fan, very nice guy. I've seen him so much during spring training. He is always out there, one of the hardest workers you will see. He offers something that no other Cubs reliever can offer, and that is being a, very tall left-handed pitcher with extreme velocity, but also a funky arm slot. Those are unique traits. You do not see many left-handed pitchers throwing from a unique arm slot. He's funky. He's going to throw hard. Has good stuff. Like I said, another pitcher with great stuff. He has a 28% strikeout rate in his major league career, but like Porter Hodge, walks. That has been Luke Little's issue. The sky is as high as it gets with Luke Little. If you could just throw a strike, if you could just land his first pitch for a strike, land his secondary stuff for strikes, we're talking a Cubs back-end reliever, if not closer potential with Luke Little. He's just got to command the strike zone. As soon as he does that, watch out, Luke Little is a breakout candidate on this team. You then have Ben Brown, who has such a polarizing relationship with Cubs fans. And I think it has to stem from just the roller coaster we've had with Ben Brown in his career at the major league level. If you remember, he gets called up that opening series against the Rangers after Justin Steele gets hurt in 2024, and then has success at the major league level, has a freak injury, misses the second half of 2024, has really high expectations entering 2025, and it was just a straight disaster as a starter. very, very high contact rate allowed, hard hit rate allowed. He struggled as a starter while showcasing good stuff. And that's where a lot of this comes from. All these guys on this list have great stuff. They throw hard, they get strikeouts, but it's the small things they need to work on. Ben Brown only has 2 pitches. Yes, it works with Justin Steele, but not everyone is a Justin Steele-like pitcher. Ben Brown, though, has been more successful out of the bullpen, which I could see him taking a short, high-intensity role in this bullpen in 2026. Again, if he can limit the hard contact rate, watch out for Ben Brown. The stuff is there. Can he just control those small little factors? I know bad luck was a big thing with Ben Brown last year. Again, if he can limit the damage, watch out. Ben Brown is going to be in for a big 2026 season. You then have the 2 players on MILB spring training invites. You have Corbin Martin, and of course, you have Colin Snyder. Look, these are complete shots in the dark. We saw what Tyler Zombro in the Cubs pitching lab did with Brad Keller a season ago. It would not surprise me at all if Martin or Snyder had huge springs. Snyder has more of a track record as recently as 2024. He had a 30% chase rate and whiff rate in 2024, a sub-2 ERA. Again, 2025 was not kind to him, but still a recent track record. Corbin Martin is more of a reclamation project. He has not been good the last couple years, but again, either of these 2 pitchers would not surprise me if they made the team. Yes, they are not on the 40-man roster, unlike the first 3 pitchers I already talked about. That already makes it way harder to make the roster, but still, 1 or 2 of these guys most certainly has a chance to make this team if they perform this spring. Again, there's a track record for this. Jed Hoyer said when he talked with David Kaplan a couple days ago, now maybe a week ago, that they look for reclamation projects. They feel like it is their vendetta to go out and find these guys and make them into the next pitcher that can go out on the market and make some big money the next season. Now, I did mention I had 1 bonus player to talk about, and his name is Ben Heller. Now, just from being around the backfields at spring training, you start to notice things. And a big, you would say, separation between the MLB 40-man roster and all the minor league players, because minor league camp is going on as well, is what the players are wearing. Now, non-roster invitees to big league camp, 40-man players, they get to wear the current spring training outfit, so the hat and shirt. And there's been 1 pitcher I have noticed who I cannot name, usually I'm good with faces and pitching motions, who has been wearing the new outfit. Now, I was made aware that this pitcher is Ben Heller. Does the name ring a bell? It might. Heller was invited to spring training a season ago, but blew out his elbow and had Tommy John surgery. He has since then recovered, signed back with the Cubs on the minor league invite, and is now trying to make the team again in 2026. Look, the Cubs liked him last year. He was a tread athletics guy. They're bringing him back, and I would say he has as good of a chance as any of these other invite pitchers, maybe even more since the Cubs brought him back, of making this team. Watch out for Ben Heller. And then 1 final note on pitching. There are 2 40-man roster pitchers who I did not bring up, and those 2 guys are Javier Assad and Jordan Wicks, who I see as pure starting pitching depth. Unless there's an injury, unless there's a standout performance, these 2 arms will be heading to Iowa, waiting to be called up. They have options. Again, they are expendable pitching depth. Something that you do need in baseball. You need to go, 10 to 12 pitchers deep. Something the Cubs have plenty of. They're a very deep pitching organization right there at the major league level. But again, these are not major league pitchers come opening day. You have better options, but they are there. Think of them as an insurance policy in AAA. And speaking of Jordan Wicks, I have seen him. He is in Mesa. He has reported to camp, which leads me into our next segment. Let's talk about those early camp observations. Now, he has been in camp for quite some time now. Matt Shaw has really impressed me this spring training. Yes, camp has not started, but Shaw has been the first player out onto the field and the last player to leave almost every single day I've been out at camp. He's taking reps in the outfield, a position that he is not familiar with. He is on the field hitting BP. He was the first major league player to hit at camp. The first player that I saw 2 weeks ago to be out there and take batting practice was Matt Shaw. And you've seen it on social media. He has made some tremendous adjustments to his stride, and I think it is going to pay dividends. The other day, Matt Shaw put on a show during batting practice. Field 1, it's the main field at Sloan Park. He was dead pull hitting these baseballs onto another backfield, hitting them to another planet. Yes, the ball does fly in Arizona, but still, you can't ignore the fact that Matt Shaw has power, and I think it's been forgotten about. I mean, we're talking he hit 35 home runs in 183 minor league games, 53 home runs in 167 college games. Shaw has some sneaky power, and I think we're going to see it in 2026. Again, kind of ditched the big leg kick. If you remember from last year, Matt Shaw had a huge leg kick. It worked in the minor leagues, but of course there is a huge velocity increase when you get to the major league level. Having a big leg kick makes you late. His timing was off. He seemed to fix it in the second half, and he has even shortened his leg kick even more this spring. I am expecting a big power surge from Matt Shaw this year. Shaw has power, but you know when Matt Shaw is on, he will go to right center field. He will hit the ball the other way. He will go the other way with authority. You go back to that Marlins series when he was called back up in May, hitting the ball in the air to the opposite side. That is how you know when Matt Shaw is on. Add that with the power surge I'm expecting from him, and Matt Shaw is going to be a key contributor on this 2026 squad. Now, switching gears from Matt Shaw, remember the reports about Justin Steele being ahead of schedule? I can confirm that he is most certainly ahead of schedule. Look, he has been out on the backfields almost every single day, throwing in some variety. Yesterday, which was February 3rd, he was throwing a flat ground bullpen, and he was throwing at a pretty high intensity. Yes, Steele throws with a trainer that is more precautionary, but still, very encouraging signs from Justin Steele. I still doubt that he makes a start this spring, maybe the last week. I don't think he's there yet, but still very encouraging to see Justin Steele, throwing at a pretty high intensity this spring, this early in spring. Camp hasn't even officially started yet, and Justin Steele is looking well ahead of schedule. And now, one final note before we get out of here tonight. Zac Gallen, his connection with the Cubs just doesn't seem to die, and I find it a bit strange. Bruce Levine, he keeps pushing this narrative that Zac Gallen is going to fall into the Cubs' lap, and I just don't see it happening, primarily due to the fact that this team just has so much major league level pitching depth that I don't think there are enough starts to be had on paper amongst all the potential starters if you bring in a guy like Zac Gallen. And I'm going to explain it. Think about this. If you add Zac Gallen to this rotation, of course, we're not going to consider injuries. Injuries are a freak thing. You do have to account for them, but you can't at the same time when looking on paper. Adding Zac Gallen to this rotation guarantees that you have 6 healthy starters that will pitch come opening day. You'd have Matthew Boyd, Edward Cabrera, Cade Horton, Jameson Taillon, Shota Imanaga, and Zac Gallen. You cannot go into opening day with a 6-man rotation. You do not have enough innings for those pitchers. Yes, you are protecting guys who have a history of arm injuries, especially Edward Cabrera and Matthew Boyd. But at the same time, you're hurting the rotation by not getting your best pitchers as many innings as possible. And that just dilutes the rotation as a whole. Yes, maybe that's something you want in July, but you want your best pitchers pitching once a week, come April, May, even June. Add in whenever you get Justin Steele back, and that would be 7 starting pitchers, 7 healthy starting pitchers at once. Of course, you have to take into account for injuries. They're bound to happen. You probably wouldn't get all 7 guys healthy at the same time. But what if you did? Who's going to the bullpen? You're not sending Zac Gallen to the bullpen for the money he's going to demand. you're not sending Jameson Taillon or Cade Horton to the bullpen, and I would doubt a guy like Shota Imanaga would want to go to the bullpen. In my mind, if you are to acquire a guy like Zac Gallen, you have to trade one of your other starting pitchers, one of your other projected opening day starting pitchers in the rotation. Maybe that's Imanaga. Maybe that's Taillon. One of those guys has to go if you bring in Zac Gallen, or else there's just not enough innings and too many arms to guarantee innings to. You can never have too much pitching, but you can have too many pitchers on your roster, and adding a guy like Zac Gallen would just logjam the rotation. You'd have too many pitchers, too many major league caliber pitchers on your roster at once. You also have to take into account that there is a comp pick attached with Zac Gallen because he was on the qualifying offer. The Cubs farm system is hurting right now. Jed Hoyer and co. probably wants that extra pick. They want their pick, and giving it away would really not be, it wouldn't follow in line with what this organization does via the draft. They have traded a lot of prospects. They want to build through the farm, and you do not trade your best pick if you're going to build through the farm.